to their screams. Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dave. I'm joined as always by Ike. Ike, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little tired today, I ain't gonna lie.
Me too, but I feel like I just stay tired anymore. It's because I just stay so busy. It's like I just move all the time. I'm always, not move. Okay, not move in the physical sense. But I'm always doing something.
Active in some way.
Yeah. I'm either, I'm working or I'm doing whatever. I'm always doing something. So mentally, I'm tired. Maybe that's it.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
I'm gonna be straight. Physically, I try to avoid as much shit as I can, but that's just the way it is. But anyway, thank you for joining us this week, and wherever you are listening to us, make sure you subscribe and give us a rating and review, please. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, Slasher. I think that's it. Just look up Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2, and Screams. As always, special thanks to Kayla and Monica, our wives, our supporters, and our researchers for everything they do to help and assist us. You'll hear them. They'll be back on the show fairly soon. We'll do another wives rebuttal. I'm sure they've got plenty to say to us. They always seem to. Anyway, and we'll mention it again later, but as we want to get it out right off the top, this is a spoiler warning. We do discuss movies in this podcast, and in the process of those discussions, we might spoil them. So you've been warned. So Ike, since we last talked last episode, what have you been doing? You watch anything? Do anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently finished a rewatch of Yellow Jackets, which I would, it's more on the side of suspense, but I would definitely say that if you like horror movies and horror TV shows, you're gonna like Yellow Jackets. The second season recently started. They're only on episode 2 of the second season. It comes out every Friday, which I hate. I wish they would just put it all out there like they used to. But
Bingeaholic, aren't you?
I certainly am. If you put it out there, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch it all, no problem. But if you unfortunately provide me a weekly episode, it angers me. I get angry. So long story short, finished the Yellow Jackets season 1 rewatch. Started watching the first 2 episodes of this season, and honestly, I haven't watched a whole lot of other horror movies, but I will say I went and saw Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of those non-horror movies that I was kind of wanting to see, and I was a little iffy about it just because I wasn't really sure how it was going to be, but honestly, it was super fun, super good. Highly recommend anybody watches it. Honestly, if I had to say like one non-spoiler good thing about this, the casting was amazing. Everybody in that movie is super great. So if you're interested in a non-horror movie, check it out.
Yeah, it does have a good cast. I like Chris Pine, and I've always wanted to see that, but I'm holding out because we're recording this on Wednesday, and as of tonight, the Super Mario Brother movies, Super Mario movies coming out, and it's like I literally sat there and had a discussion with Monica on, could I squeeze that in after we record? Can we just go tonight because it's coming out on a Wednesday? So I'm like, well, I don't know, that with eating, it's pushing it, but there's a very good chance that the day this is released on Thursday, we'll be going to see it because I'm super excited, and that looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna go watch that next Tuesday, I believe. Because my wife, for people, just a fun fact, my wife is a huge Nintendo fan. Like, that's kind of like her thing. Like, Nintendo is like her favorite thing. Animal Crossing, Mario Party, Mario Kart, all that good jazz. So she's really excited to see that. So we're definitely gonna go see it next Tuesday, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I like Nintendo a lot too. I mean, that was always, the system. I mean, me and Mario go all the way back to, him battling Donkey Kong in the arcade and then, blowing on cartridges in the NES. So, I mean, so it's like, I like Nintendo, a lot. I've got the Switch. I've always had the Nintendo systems. It's especially the Mario stuff, right? The Mario stuff's always, to me, been, the most enjoyable part of the Nintendo world. So I do enjoy, but so see, here we are again, right? You didn't watch a whole heck of a lot. I fucking watched a ton. I'm just telling you, I don't know, man. I'm devouring '80s slashers like you would not believe here lately. I am just going down rabbit holes, and I'm watching so many movies that I've either not seen or have not watched in years. And of the things I've watched, we're not going to talk a lot about most of them. There's one thing I like to talk a little bit about, but this is what I've watched this week. Okay, I watched Witchboard from 1986. I watched Shocker from 1989, Maniac from 1980, Pieces from 1982, and I watched Maniac Cop 1, 2, and 3 from 1988, 1990, 1993. And then an additional thing I watched that I want to talk about just a little bit. I watched a documentary called Smoke and Mirrors: The Story of Tom Savini that came out in 2015, and it was just great. I love it because, again, like we talked last week when we talked about The Living with Chucky, I love documentaries, right? I really do. When documentaries hit on passions of mine, I love them. And even documentaries necessarily that don't. I mean, I just like that. I like that deep dive. That's the way my brain's wired, right? If there's something that I have any interest in, man, I want to learn everything I can. And this was such a cool because Tom Savini he's just a fucking god, right? I mean, so much of practical effects Tom Savini invented.
Yeah.
And created, but it's so cool to watch this and where he got started. Did a lot of theater stuff, and then I mean, served in the military, and just he's such an amazing guy in everything he's done. And it was great fun. I highly advise anybody to watch it. Savini's name will come back up here in a little bit when we talk about our news and in rumors. There's a thing circulating around Tom Savini lately that horror fans will be interested in. So stand by for that. So I watched a lot. I mean, it's like one of those deals. It's like where I watch a slasher and I'm like, okay, what's another cheesy '80s slasher I can watch? And of course, these are all varying degrees, right? I mean, Pieces and Maniac and Shocker. Those are all fun for what they are. The Maniac Cop trilogy. I really like the first one. It's a fun movie. The other two are a little more difficult to watch. Not horrible, but man, I really like the first one. It's got a great cast. I mean, Bruce Campbell's in it and everything else. It's a fun movie. But you know what else is fun, Ike? Our game, the top three. So let's play top three. Top three. And this week, I guess we should have mentioned up top. Here in a bit, we're going to be reviewing an independent film called Body Farm. And Body Farm has a highly medical theme behind it, right? So we thought, hey, let's do a top three of our favorite medical-related horror movies. And so just on a side note, my father, he's passed away now, but my father-in-law, Ed, who you knew, he would have, Monica reminded me of this when we were discussing, because a lot of times when we come up with these top threes, I pick her brain, right? I would say, hey, what would you pick for your top threes? Because a lot of times it helps get my brain flowing, because she'll throw out some ideas that maybe I don't have. And she reminded me that Ed would have always said that the TV series ER would have been his favorite medical related horror movies, because he said anybody that ever went to that ER didn't survive. So that's what he said. So anyway, it's just a side note. It doesn't apply here. Although, I am a fan. I do like the medical TV shows, right? I know you like Grey's Anatomy. I've dabbled in Grey's Anatomy. I enjoy what I've seen of it. But I love the Chicago Med show. I'm a big fan of the Chicago shows, Med, Fire, and PD. So, but that's not what we're talking.
I was gonna say I've watched enough Grey's Anatomy. All I know at this point is that "Chasing Cars" by Snow Patrol is a horror theme song now, because as soon as that starts playing, some motherfucker's dying. That's all I know.
That's right. But we're discussing our top three favorite medical or doctor related horror movies, and again, it's kind of a loose topic, right? We didn't give a lot of guidelines to this. I tried to keep it where it either had a doctor or a near doctor as a strong primary character in it, or one of the films I picked primarily takes place in a hospital. So right. I thought, hey, that's good enough. But man, and then until you start thinking about this, god damn, you realize how many horror movies can be considered medical or doctor related. It's just an astronomical number of films. And I don't think my list is going to surprise anybody in the world. I say that all the time. I'm so predictable. I must just be a boring individual. But when people, if they know me at all, when they hear this top three, they're going to be, yeah, those are definitely his. So, Ike, are you ready with your list?
I think so.
Let's dive right in. I'll dive in first. I'll go with my number 3. My number 3 is a film that, man, I hear a lot of people knock sometimes. It's I guess kind of a divisive movie. Some people like it, some people hate it. But it's from 1981 and it's Halloween 2. And that I for one like Halloween 2. I enjoy it. I don't mind the Laurie Strode as Michael Myers sister storyline. It's a little twist in there. It's kind of fun. But keep it in context that when I first saw it, it wasn't 81, but it was soon after. It was still kind of fresh, right? It hadn't been talked about or debated for 40 years. But a huge chunk, I would almost venture to guess a majority of this movie takes place in a hospital where Laurie is, and so that I very much enjoy Halloween 2. I think Halloween 1 and 2 is a nice 1-2 punch as far as horror movies and a horror movie sequel go. Of course, I mean, when you're following the original, it's not going to be, it's not going to be on that same level. Halloween 78 was groundbreaking in my eyes. But Halloween 2 is a very, very fun movie. The Halloween or the hospital setting works very well for me. I fully enjoy it. What do you think of Halloween 2?
Yeah, absolutely. So Halloween 2, like you said, it is very much a divisive film. I am very shocked, if I'm going to be honest, the amount of people who don't like Halloween 2. When I first started watching scary movies, my first ever horror movie was Halloween. That's my first that's the first horror movie I ever saw. And then, of course, when I got older, that was the first series that I really dove into and devoted time to watching sequels. So Halloween 2, in my opinion, is a very good follow-up to the first movie. It's by no means better, but it is a very good follow-up. It's a lot gorier, a little more violence, and like you said, it takes place on a little bit of a different area, a little more compact, right? They're not falling all over the city. It's kind of all localized to the hospital for the most part. But absolutely, Halloween 2, great movie. I like it a lot. If I had to put it on a ranking with the other Halloween movies, which I think we have done before, it's probably up there, especially considering that there's a lot of not so good Halloween movies. But in any case, Halloween 2 is great. I love it. I could see why that would make someone's top 3 in this case.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think we have ranked the Halloween films yet. I think we've only done the Scream series and the Child's Play series. I don't think we have done a Halloween deep dive. Spoiler alert, though. Spoiler. This year the 45th anniversary of the original Halloween film. Came out in 1978. So it will be coming. I figure this fall, when it comes close to the time of that film release, that's what we're going to do. We'll dive into the entire Halloween franchise at that time. So that's coming. Yeah. That'll be. I mean, every time we do these deep dives, we have the episode's a little bit longer. Man, when we both dive into Halloween, we might be talking all night long. So, all right, but Ike, let's get back on track here. What is your number 3 favorite medical-related horror movie?
Absolutely. So this one's going to be a little controversial too, just because the subject matter of this movie is very weird. But I'll kind of explain in a second. My number 3 is the Human Centipede first sequence.
I wondered if you'd put that on there.
So here's the deal. Obviously, for people who've never seen it, the Human Centipede is it makes lists for like the most disgusting horror movie. Basically, this is about a doctor, a mad scientist, I should say, who kidnaps and mutilates a trio of tourists in order to reassemble them into a human centipede. He does this by stitching their mouths to each other's anuses. So, for obvious reasons, this is a very fucked up movie. It's a very disturbing movie. It doesn't have a whole lot of like deeper context outside of it's literally just a mad scientist. But the movie in of itself is not bad. The sequels, I think, are doo-doo. No pun intended. No pun intended. But the sequels, I think, were just cash grabs and trying to make something even grosser. There's like the Human Centipede 2 and then the third one, which is like the final sequence or something like that. But the point that I'm getting to, the first one, in a way, it was creative. It was different. It was new. I've only seen this movie, I think, twice because it's a hard rewatch. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those movies you watch once and then you never think about again, unless you're doing a top 3, in which case you're probably gonna talk about it again. but yeah, absolutely. Human Centipede first sequence is my number 3 top 3 favorite medical related horror films. Dave, have you ever
Yeah,
seen Human Centipede?
I have. It's been a while. I've only seen it the one time. Like you said, I don't know if it's one of those movies that's high on my rewatch list. The film's okay for what it is. But yeah, it's one of those movies it's not one when you're sitting around and you're just jonesing for something to throw on a comfort movie. It's not what you go for.
Right.
But it did come to mind. I mean, not when I'm thinking through these movies, that one did come to mind. Not that it had a shot at making my top three per se, but obviously that as I was thinking about horror or medical related horror movies, that did come to mind. So, but that brings me to my number 2, and if we're talking mad scientist, well, we've got to go with the OG, and from 1931, Frankenstein. I don't think anybody would be surprised. Frankenstein making my list and a Universal monster movie. Everybody knows I love Frankenstein. Everybody knows that the 1931 Frankenstein and then the Bride of Frankenstein that follows it to me are what I consider two of the best movies back to back to watch of all time. They're classic, but the thought of piecing together this being and bringing it to life and the "it's alive" cry and just doing this for the sake of doing it, right? There's not like there's this motive per se, really.
Right.
It's just with him saying he knows what it feels like to be a god and everything, which was cut from the original back in the day because you couldn't say such things in the 30s. But it's not like there was a per se a medical purpose behind it. It was just a power, an exploration of knowledge and ability um but the movie's so great. It's such a beautiful movie. It's such a fantastic movie. And Boris Karloff as the monster, one of the best portrayed on-screen characters of all time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so I'll just go ahead and jump in. Obviously, Frankenstein, it is a masterpiece. Frankenstein is one of those movies that you watch and it sticks with you. I had actually never watched the Frankenstein movie, the original, until we recently watched it. Because if I remember correctly, if I had watched it, it was probably in college, and I mean, that was so long ago, didn't even remember it. But I remember when I rewatched it, it was one of those movies that I watched and it stuck with me. And you're right, it's not entirely surgical, right? It was basically an attempt at grasping power. And it's very interesting how they portray this monster, and really, if you look at like modern adaptations, we talked a little bit about with one of the last episodes that they're going to be doing another Frankenstein movie at some point, which will be very good, hopefully. But yes, absolutely, I think that you would be remiss to not include a monster movie in your top 3. I didn't, but well, kinda. But I think in this case the surge like you said the crazy the mad doctor creating a monster. It can be medical and it is kind of like that. Like you said, that grasp at power that I can be God, and very good movie. I love Frankenstein.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the story of Frankenstein to me is one of the most influential stories of all time, right? It seeps into so much that achieving or that doing of something just to do, just the power to to push human creation, human life further. So, Ike, what is your number 2 favorite medical related horror movie?
Absolutely. My number 2 is American Mary. So American Mary is the story of Mary Mason, a medical student who, with the allure of easy money, dives into the underworld, the underground world, I should say, of surgeries. So basically, it's a story about this medical student who starts doing like illegal cosmetic surgery on people, and like this varies from like piercings to like tongue splitting to some really messed up stuff, some pretty extreme things. And she does it because she's struggling to find money, and so basically this story has a lot more to it than just that. This is one of those kind of like revenge type stories where American Mary, does have to get revenge, and and it does paint the picture of a a female revenge story. But American Mary has a lot of really interesting visuals because you're seeing this body modification, right? Body modification is one of the more controversial things that you can talk about, and even in today's age. So when this came out back in 2012, I believe 2012, you have a very interesting story to tell about illegal body modification, which is also a thing as well. There are a lot of people who can't get they can't get surgeries in the United States, right? They can't get surgeries that they want to get because generally speaking, people won't do them. So they have to seek out illegal avenues to do so. So it definitely paints a picture of, is it safe to do this? Is it this, that to do this? But overall, it's a really great movie. It has its horror aspects. It's definitely violent, definitely gory, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. I will say that. I will also mention that the main character, Mary, she's played by Catherine Isabel, who, weirdly enough, I was going through her IMDb. Catherine Isabel is apparently in Supernatural. She plays Ava Wilson in an episode in 2007.
No shit.
So, yeah, fun fact, she is a Supernatural alum, and she is
Woohoo!
the main character there.
Yeah, it's odd you say that because I've not seen this movie. But when you said something about, the back alley kind of doctor, quote unquote, it immediately reminded me of an episode of Supernatural because there's a thing where obviously the Winchester brothers often die, right? To do, or sometimes purposely to visit the Vale, to visit the other side. Anyway, so one time Dean has to die to save Sam. So he goes in and visits a friend of his father's. It was Dr. Robert, who was going to stop his heart and bring him back after so many minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Which Dr. Robert, of course, was played by Robert Englund of Freddy fame, and it was so cool. It's for whatever reason, I got Supernatural on the brain all the time. So when you brought that up, that's what it reminded me of. So very cool. I may have to watch it now, just particularly because with Supernatural alums in there. That's enough to get me to watch something. So that brings us to our number ones, and my number one, nobody should be surprised, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, from 1985, Reanimator. I love this movie. It plays right straight through with the Frankenstein thing, although they're not necessarily piecing people together, but he is, quote unquote, reanimating people. This movie is spectacular to me. It's so fun. I don't know. I know it's not this over the top, fantastic, award-winning type movie, but it is everything that I like in horror. It is, it's got some great kill scenes. It's got a few chuckles. It's got a little bit of cheese. This movie is so fun, and it is one of my comfort films. And immediately when I thought about something that was medical or doctor related, Herbert West immediately came to mind in Reanimator. So again, anybody that knows me knows my love for this character, for this movie. Ike, what do you think of Reanimator?
So I don't think that I've seen Reanimator. I think we may have talked about Reanimator before, but I have not seen it.
Man, you got to watch this movie. As much as I bring it up, you got to watch Reanimator.
I know. I'm pretty sure this. If I had to guess, I think it's probably. I think Reanimator is one of those things that I hear pretty often, but I've never seen it. Actually, I have a little bit of an idea of what it's about, but I've never seen that one. I'll have to check it out so I can give an appropriate appraisal.
Absolutely, based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, it is great. Yes, you have to watch Reanimator because I bring it up all the time, so you need context. So let's move on then. And what is your number one favorite medical-related horror movie?
Absolutely. My number one is A Cure for Wellness from 2016. So Cure for Wellness is about an ambitious young executive who is sent to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center at a location in a remote Swiss Alps, but soon suspects that the spa treatments are not what they seem. So, yeah, this movie's really good. This has actually a pretty good cast. It's Jason Isaacs. Jason Isaacs, of course, is known for many things. He was in Harry Potter. I believe he was in The Patriot. He was in Batman. He plays like some vocal pieces in some of the animated movies, I believe. But Jason Isaacs is in this. Of course, Mia Goth is in this. This is one of her early films. I would say this is probably one of her first big films. It also has Dane DeHaan, who is in a bunch of movies, but I think Dave, you'd probably know him best from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. He plays the Green Goblin with Andrew Garfield.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so this movie, The Cure for Wellness, it's one of those it's a little bit of a little sneak up on you kind of horror, because when you first start watching this movie, you're really not sure what's happening, right? You know something's off, you know something's going weird, but this movie approaches you in a bunch of different ways. One of the biggest ways is it kind of hits you with body horror. So one of the things that I'm most terrified about is losing my teeth. And there is an extended sequence of this movie where people are just losing their teeth, and it freaks me out. So The Cure for Wellness really hits you with some of those, I would say, little pieces like that, and it has sort of an interesting ending to it. The reason this is medical is that the retreat is headed up, of course, by a doctor. It is a practitioner of sorts, who is up to no good. I will also mention that this movie is 2.5 hours long. So it's a whopper, man. I'll tell you this much. When we watched this, I remember we watched it in theaters back in 2016. We really wanted to watch it, me and my wife. And I just remember I was I didn't realize how long it was. We went to a 7 o'clock movie, and it was almost 10 p.m. by the time we left. I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, Dave, I'm assuming you may have not seen this movie.
Nope, I have not seen this movie.
Yeah, it's good. You might have to check it out. It is long though, so you're gonna have to devote some time.
Yeah, can I break that down into a miniseries or what? I mean,
right, for real. Cure for Wellness miniseries, 30-minute increments.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna have to watch each other's number ones at some point in time, but I guarantee you're gonna cut that sucker in half. If you watch Reanimator, and
True.
So, that's why I like my horror nice and short and sweet and full of cheese. That's the way I like it. So, but let's take a break. That concludes top 3, and when we come back, we will discuss news and upcoming releases. Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned.
All right, and we are going to jump right on in with some news coming right at you. So first we have toys and merch. Big Bad Toy Store, a reoccurring conversation on this podcast, of course, is coming out with a Last of Us 2 Ellie with Bow, a $59.99 price point, and a new arrival. And something that Dave, I'm sure, is excited about. Universal Monsters, world's smallest set of 3 micro-action figures, which is the Monster, Bride, and Wolfman. A 1.25-inch tall, I'm assuming that's inch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Replica of original action figure Blister card. And then it's $24.99 pre-order. That's a steal. Are you going to get that, Dave?
Yeah, probably. This world's smallest stuff is just, man, it's just all over the place. They make everything, right? It's just these tiny takes on toys, and they seem to be super popular because it's literally pretty much every brand or whatever you want to call it out there. So I don't know. I don't know if people just like the humor of it being small, if they like the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of space, but it is kind of neat. But yeah, it's Universal Monsters. There's a good chance at some point I'll get it.
Absolutely. All right. So a couple of key birthdays. We, of course, have on the 6th, we have Paul Rudd, who, of course, is known in the horror world as Tommy Doyle in Halloween Curse of Michael Myers, which surprisingly is one of my favorite Halloween movies, specifically the producer's cut.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Fuck that Ant-Man shit, man. That's Tommy Doyle.
That's right. That's Tommy Doyle. Ant-Man, who's that? Which I guess if you ask the right person, if they didn't like Quantumania, they might agree with you.
Yeah.
But on the 8th, we also have Katie Sackhoff, who is from Halloween Resurrection and Oculus. Forgive me for my ignorance. I have no idea who that is.
Oh, come on. She was in Battlestar Galactica. She's in The Mandalorian. And you would know her if you saw her, I'm sure. She was in an episode of Big Bang Theory with Howard in the bathtub.
Oh, yep. Okay, yeah. Because she plays what's her name? Bo-Katan and Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, right,
Gotcha.
right.
All
What
right,
a,
I'm picking up what
what
you're putting down.
what yeah, one of my Hollywood crushes right there is Katie Sackhoff. She's she's something else.
I was gonna say the name seemed familiar, but I was like, I really don't know who that is. But I know who it is now. But we're good, guys. We're good.
Yeah, yeah.
But a couple of anniversary release dates. On the 7th, we have Amityville Horror from 2005, the Ryan Reynolds edition, aka the shirtless edition. One of the most iconic scenes in that movie is him running around the ring without a shirt on. And then on the 11th, we have House of a Thousand Corpses from 2003. I think Dave and I have talked plenty about our love-hate relationship with Rob Zombie, so
Such, such a mixed bag, man. I'm telling you, I don't know what to think.
I
Man,
know.
tell you, I hear a Rob Zombie song, I'm like, yeah. See a Rob Zombie movie, I'm like, eh. I just,
You're, you're
I
like,
want
oh
to,
man.
I want to like his stuff so much. I just really, really do. But I just, I like Rob Zombie. I like his music, but I cannot 100% get on board with his movies. I can't. Not that there's not some bright points to some of the movies. I mean, Captain Spaulding's a great character, and there's some kernels out there enough to keep me on that trail. I don't know. Maybe someday he'll make one that'll just wholeheartedly make me say hell yeah.
You're hoping for that wow factor to hit you.
If he quit doing remakes, I mean, I'm not a big fan of all of his remakes.
Me neither. But in some positive horror news, we have some news about the Crystal Lake series. That's right. We're super excited about this. Showrunner Brian Fuller has hinted on Instagram that Tom Savini, as we mentioned earlier, will have a hand in some way in this production. Savini, of course, worked on the original Friday the 13th as well as Friday the 13th Final Chapter, as well as a bunch of other stuff. And in addition to Tom Savini, we have Adrian King from Friday the 13th, who played Alice. And also, screenwriter Kevin Williamson already is announced to be a part of the team as well. So I think it's shaping up to be quite the Avengers, if you ask me.
It is, and I'm telling you, I am so fucking excited for this. And when I get this excited about something, it scares me because it's like I'm so excited, and it's like every time another little something leaks out there like this, right? It's like it just makes me. I mean, I'm like, okay, you got Adrian King, hell yeah, Kevin Williamson, hell yeah, Tom Savini, fuck yeah, and it's like everything. You hear, oh, it's a TV series, so they can use anything they want because it's not a
Yeah.
movie, right? And all this shit. Every time it leaks out, it makes me that much more excited. That it's like I'm so scared that when it comes out, I'll be like, oh, seriously, what the hell? But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm feeling confident that they know what they're doing here and they know what people want. And there's been enough time that they've looked around at what's been successful and what is working with requels and different things like that. And that I feel like they're going to get it, right? They're going to knock this one out of the park. And man, I hope, because I'm telling you, I mean, I love the Friday the 13th franchise, right? I love the Jason Voorhees character. And it's been so long. I know the reboot was like what 4 years ago or something. So I mean, I know it doesn't seem like that long, but it feels like it has been forever that we're starved for some new material. And I love the series aspect of it because, like we discussed last episode, I feel like that is so unexplored as far as horror. I still don't feel like horror has fully utilized the series.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that this is the way it's going. I mean, would I be happy with another movie? Sure, right? I mean, even if they reboot it or whatever, I'd still be excited. But the way that they're approaching this, I'm like, yes, let's try something fresh. Let's try something different, and see what happens here. And I'm super excited, but I'm so nervous, right? Because it's like I want to love it so bad that I mean, it's like, God, just don't fucking let me down.
Right. Absolutely. Also, small fact check on Dave here. The reboot of Friday the 13th came out in 2009, so we're looking about 14 years ago.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I should have known that.
nah,
Yeah,
had to
yeah, yeah.
had to fact check. I'm sorry. That's what I'm here
I
for.
had that last number right. So see, that makes it even worse.
It does. I was gonna say it doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. Oh Lord. But well, all right. Keep an eye out for more updates on Crystal Lake. We'll obviously be here to provide them to you if you guys don't want to look for them on your own. Don't worry. But in some upcoming release news, is we actually have some interesting things coming out. A couple things that I think I'll be checking out. But we have Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism. It's available on video on demand as of April the 6th. This is about Laura, a woman torn between science and faith, pushed by her husband to seek treatment from a congregation of zealots. A ruthless exorcist will try to save her soul by putting an innocent woman through hell. This is an Australian horror film directed by Nick Kozakis. I think I'll check this out. I like exorcism films, generally speaking. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I like that. I like that battle of science and faith. That's intriguing to me. I like that. I'm all about a good exorcism. Let's a little demon possession. Let's get on that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't have enough of that shit out there.
No, I was gonna say. Also, you are correct though. I am really excited about the science part of that, which is why I said I was excited for, because there was another horror film that kind of did something similar. It was called Incarnate, where they did kind of like the science exorcism type deal, and had Aaron Eckhart in it, who I really like. But anyways, I'll definitely check out Godless, video on demand. The other one is You're Killing Me, which is a limited theatrical release with a video on demand for April 6th. This follows Eden, who goes to a coveted heaven and hell party, hoping to get a letter of recommendation to an elite university from the wealthy parents of her classmate. But the party quickly turns into a fight for her life. This is starring Anne Hetch, Dermot Mulroney, Macaulay Miller, and this will have a limited theatrical release, and it says video on demand on the 7th. My bad. I'll check this out. I'll usually check anything on video on demand at least once.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds all right. It sounds like it could have a little suspense, a little thrill, right? I mean, when you go to a party and it turns into Fight for Life, that it gives you a sense that there's going to be some capture there, right? Some trapped into a place that and there's something to be said for that, right? Whether what's supposed to be a happy, fun place turns into a night of terror or whatever. I wonder if there is any significance to the person's name being Eden and they go to a heaven and hell. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm trying to look too deep into this, but yeah, I'll give it a shot. Sounds fun.
Yep, and also just for people who are curious, Dermot Mulroney played the detective in the last Scream movie, so
that's right.
He's got a little bit of name power behind him, and
it's got a pretty good cast there. I mean, Anne Hetch and everything. It's a decent little cast.
Yeah, Macaulay Miller, she was in that movie Mall, which I really liked Mall. That was a good one. But anyways, yeah, I'll check it out. Another one of those, just if it's on video on demand, I'm more likely to watch it. Like, small side point, if you put it on like a streaming service and I can watch it, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, me too. At some point, it's like, I mean, if it's there and I'm subscribing already, like, hell yeah, I'll watch that.
Exactly.
I don't have to leave my comfort to go see it. I'm not as picky.
Same. No, 100%.
Give me a beer and a remote, and I'm good. Let's do it.
Absolutely, I agree. So this next one I'm actually pretty excited about because I have seen the original, I believe, at some point.
And we'll review this next episode. Yes,
so we're watching Cube from 2021. It's available video on demand on the 11th. Screambox. A group of strangers wake up in a mysterious room inscribed with an unfamiliar code. Looking for ways to escape, they discover a room is riddled with lethal traps. As fear and distrust swirl around them, the group must work together to survive. This is a Japanese remake of the Canadian movie Cube from 1998. Which I think I've seen the original, and we're definitely going to be watching this, but I'm pretty sure I've seen the original, but it's been a while.
Yeah, and from the early reviews, early things that I've read, everybody pretty much unanimously has said this is even better. The remake is even better. So we'll see. I like that. I like the quote unquote kind of escape room thing, right? Where you're trapped and there's weird shit happening, and that solve thing where you've got to solve puzzles or play games or whatever. That shit makes me tense, and because it typically involves a battle with time in situations, right? And that's very suspenseful. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing this. And again, it's it is coming out on 411 on Screenbox. We will be reviewing that next episode, so I'm looking forward to that. It sounds fun. It's good stuff.
Absolutely. And then if you guys want to sink your teeth into something else, maybe you're not looking forward to any of these movies, and you're like, well, give me something I can watch now. You can check out The Monster from 2016, a survival horror movie that is on HBO Max. It is starring Zoe Kazan, Scott Speedman, and Ella Ballantine, and has been trending this week, so it is a must rewatch. So check it out.
Yeah, it would be a first-time watch for me, not a rewatch. I've never seen this. But, yeah, again, it's on a streaming service I subscribe to. I'm probably going to be there at some point in time. You scroll through that horror selection and be like, what is that? I've never seen that. Let's watch that. And again, if it's there and I've got an hour and a half to 2 hours to spare, I'm really not that picky. All I'm looking for is something new, something fresh that I've not seen.
That's right. But all right, I think that pretty much does it for all of our news here today. Check out those movies. Check out all that news. Like I said, we'll be keeping you guys up to date on the Crystal Lake series. Don't worry about it. But next, we're going to give a quick review. Maybe not a quick review. We'll see how this goes. But we're going to review this movie from this week. We're going to review Body Farm.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes. All right, we're back on Listen to Their Screams, and we're now going to dive in and review Body Farm, an independent film that you can watch for free. All you got to do is go to bodyfarmmovie.com. There's a list of places you can view the movie. There's several options. It's on YouTube. It's on, I don't even know what else. There's several platforms. Easily can find it out there. So go to bodyfarmmovie.com to watch it. You can also find them on Twitter at bodyfarmmovie. Again, we caught the wind of this on Twitter in this movie and came to kind of know these people a little bit and told us this movie was out there. They were trying to kind of get some exposure. The movie's been out for a few years, but they're really got it out there on some platforms now, and they're really trying to get the word out there. And so I told them, hell, we'll watch it. Sounds good. We had an open spot, right? We didn't have a movie this week. Thought, perfect. Let's do this thing. And they're excited. We're excited. So we watched it. But the movie, a little bit about the movie, it follows an independent film company that sends a videographer ahead of a story to investigate a body farm where human decomposition is researched. The footage she sends back leads to the rest of her team to follow in her footsteps to uncover a grisly medical abyss. It's starring Nicholas Lamontia, Brandon Keenan, and Brett Hollabaugh. It won Best Feature Film in 2019 at the Bloody Horror International Film Festival. A little background. The principal photography for the movie began in the spring of 2015 when a group of Pittsburgh area filmmakers came together under the joint direction of Nicholas Lamontia, and Brendan Keenan. Working from a script by Mr. Keenan, the production team, which ranges in size from 5 crew members to 45 members, shot 1 or 2 days per month over the next 2 years to make Body Farm a reality. With a budget of around $35,000 and completely self-funded, the cast and crew shot all around the Pittsburgh area, at the West Virginia State Penitentiary, through the mountains of North Carolina, and in New York City. Body Farm's cast was filled out mostly by Pittsburgh area actors, aside from a cameo from Richard Christie, who was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and on the Howard Stern Show. So again, I'm a big proponent of independent film, right? I love people. In this day and age, anybody with a vision and a story to tell can tell it, right? The avenues are out there. It's always been that way, but it's even easier nowadays. So, and then I like supporting people like that, right? Because you never know which of these guys is going to get that break and become the next big thing, right? You don't know when the next Terrifier 2 is going to break out of an independent film and become this hit and launch a production company into the next level. And so we watched this movie, and I have to say, I really enjoyed this movie. I talk about how I like horror movies a certain way with some gore, some slasher aspects, a little bit of suspense. I kind of like that in it. I like a little bit of the cheesiness. And but the part of the problem a lot of times with independent film is you get too much cheese, right? And the wrong kind of cheese, maybe. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Where everything just seems so forced and fake. And this, I'm telling you, this didn't really feel it didn't really feel fake to me. I kind of believe the characters and for what they are. And I will say that this movie, with kind of the twist there, on who the big villain of the movie, so quote unquote, it kind of caught me. I didn't really expect what it was going. It wasn't like it was a groundbreaking script development, but I guess I don't know if I just wasn't looking for that, or I just thought it was pretty straightforward. But there at the end, they threw in a couple of connections and aspects, and they did the whole look back to earlier in the film and showing you what you didn't see, like the other side of the story. And I thought it was pretty cool. I thought, I guess I didn't expect that little element of depth there at the end. And it was fun. I mean, it's, you can't watch a film like this, and you can't. Again, a $35,000 budget. I felt like they did pretty good with the effects. There were some of these effects were they're a little cringy, not like bad cringy, but like kind of the horror cringy. And so I felt like they got their money's worth out of that 35 grand and what they did. And and when I'm sure when you make a film like this, a lot of times you're taking whatever actors you can get to fill roles, to fill spots. But I feel like everybody did their bit, and everybody was good and on. And it was a fun film. And I enjoyed. I didn't try to run, for a 3-hour epic to think they had to tell this over the top story. It kept it right in the wheelhouse. They told their bit and got out of there. And I don't know, it had all the elements that I enjoy from watching a horror movie. So what'd you think of Body Farm?
Absolutely. And I also want to just agree with what you kind of said. I'm a huge proponent of filmmakers shooting the shot. Quite frankly, we've talked a lot about some of the more successful independent films like Skinamarink or the what was it, the Outlands or something like that.
Outwaters.
Outwaters, yeah, not Outlands. I don't know what I'm talking about. When you look at these films, it's always a great time, in my opinion. It's always a great time in this world to be able to see these films come to fruition, because if you went back to like the 90s or the 80s or even the early 2000s, the availability of high quality filming equipment definitely presented a money barrier, whereas nowadays, in reality, you could probably, with the right equipment, probably shoot on your iPhone. You'd probably be just fine. And I think that when you have the technological advancements that we've had, and you have the changes in the world that we've had, you see a lot more of these films that are coming out that are higher production value with less dollars. And this movie is no exception. I think that Body Farm really succeeds in 3 places. It succeeded by having an enjoyable enough story. The acting, again, was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I don't mean that as a jab, but having seen my fair share of independent horror films, having seen my fair share of YouTube horror films, having watched Thanksgiving, I was definitely expecting something a lot worse than what I got. So the acting, of course, it wasn't like the typical cheese fest where you see these just really, honestly, a lot of the times with these independent movies, they're probably not trained actors. And heck, these may not have been trained actors either, but they seemed like they were trained actors. They were acting. They weren't just being stupid, which is what you kind of get in some of these movies. And then, Dave mentioned it too, the effects. The effects genuinely surprised me. I want to give that kind of special kudos, because a lot of times, when you look at the effects on these independent horror films, or even some of the more lower budget major production films, sometimes the effects aren't really up to par, and you have some kind of iffy shots as to what's going on. So I do want to give that special little kudos. I think the effects, in my opinion, this movie made it more enjoyable than it was. A lot of the makeup that they did was really good. I know that one part where they the guy got shot in the head, and they had the splatter effect. That
was wild.
That was wild. I was like, geez. I was like, I've seen, top dollar productions from like, in the last 5 years who can't get that right. So I was like, I'm really surprised that they got it right, and they did. So I do give Body Farm the credit where credit's due. Obviously, it wasn't a record-breaking film. It wasn't an Oscar-winning film, but it was a fun film. It was done right. It had an interesting story. The actors seemed like they were legitimately trying, and the effects were surprisingly good, like you said, for $35,000. I mean, damn. So yeah, I would say that I liked it. It was definitely not what I anticipated, and like you also said, that little twist at the end was a little nice, little, I guess, cherry on the top, if you ask me. It was overall a good film, I would say. It definitely was not what I was expecting. I was definitely expecting something much worse.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you kind of hold your breath when you go into independent film, right? You have to take it for what it's worth.
Right.
And watching this again, you're right. You can tell that it's new filmmakers. There are some newer actors. You can see that aspect of it. And I don't mean that in this hugely negative way. You can just tell, right? Everybody starts somewhere, right? Everybody, even the major actors they've got shit work out there, right? There's stuff that where they've guessed it on a TV show, and it's really weird. And I'm not saying this is shit work. Don't get me wrong. But everybody starts somewhere, and I just really feel like this was a good first step forward for this group. And again, I mean I really did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was by no means perfect, right? But at all. But I was pleasantly surprised by it. But then when I take a step back and I thought about it even more, just even if I try to take away the independent film aspect of it, I still thought that it was a fun film in its own right. Even when I didn't think about just the being surprised of how, enjoying how much I enjoyed a quote unquote independent film. If you take that aspect away and just say, okay, well, let's don't look at it from a $35,000 budget and an independent film. Just look at it as a film. I thought it was still fun, and it had all the qualities I like in horror. But like you said, as we rank it, it's not a masterpiece. I don't think anybody's going to think it's a masterpiece. And even the filmmakers, I'm sure would look at it and find elements that they could probably improve upon. There's always room for a little more money, a little more experience. There's always elements that can be improved upon, things that are out of their control. But for what they had and what they did, bravo, well done. But if we're gonna put a bow on this and rank it, I got to be straightforward. I'm gonna put it right at a 3. Right? It's a film that I enjoyed. I don't think it was. We call a 3 as just a straight ahead, enjoyable, fun film for me. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing that really earth shattering. But being a 3, being in the middle of the ground that's not disrespectful. That's not a bad thing. That means I enjoyed the film, right? That's I can't have a bias because of I feel like they overachieved a little bit for what they had. I'm not going to rank it higher based on that because I don't, I feel like had they not overachieved, it probably would have been below a 3 for me. So I think a 3 is right where it lands, and I think that's a pretty good company for some films that we've ranked at 3 for an independent film to be in that range.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think I would have to agree with you. I think a 3 is pretty befitting of this film. Like you said, we weren't looking at anything groundbreaking, but we were looking at a fun movie that, in my opinion, achieved its goal. You know what I mean? A lot of times these indie films are passion projects. These are projects that are, like you said, they're being done on a shoestring budget. And for what this movie was, especially when you take a step back, look at it overall, it's a great movie. You know what I mean? It achieves what it needs to achieve. It was a project. It was a lovely little thing to watch, and I enjoyed it a lot. And if it makes the filmmakers, if they happen to be listening to this, if the filmmakers happen to listen to this, I just want you to know that your film was rated higher than Halloween Ends. So take that, and I hope that it gives you some comfort in this world that your movie was good.
Yeah, I mean, our consensus, it was ranked right on. We gave a 3 to Scream 6.
Yeah.
I mean, so hey, and I mean, this movie is doing it with a lot less budget and a lot less hype. So
That's right.
again, these guys are trying to get some eyes on their film. trying to get views on it, and they deserve it, right? So go out, like we said, to bodyfarmmovie.com and watch this movie. It's like I said, it's on YouTube, it's on several other platforms. You can find them all there on their website. But yeah, it's a fun watch. You won't be disappointed or feel like you've wasted your time by watching it. And again, like I said, it had the fun twist or whatever else. But this movie, it is absolutely worth the watch just for that headshot scene alone. That was, man, I watched that and I think, God, do they spend their entire budget on that right there? Because that was beautiful. That was good stuff. I mean, it was well done. So that puts a bow on that. Wraps up Body Farm. Like we said earlier, next week from 2021, we're going to watch the Japanese remake of Cube, which will be available on Screenbox Video on Demand 411. Screenbox and Video on Demand 411, excuse me. Again, Screenbox got a lot of good stuff out there right now. The Living with Chucky documentary is on there. This Cube's going to be on there. They got a lot of good stuff. Go subscribe, go support the Screenbox, go support Shudder. The more you support these platforms, the more they can go out and get movies and get content and do original stuff and exclusives. And again, those are the kind of platforms that help support independent films like Body Farm and some of these smaller films. They give them a voice. There's a lot of films that find homes and find voices on there. Screenbox is, the quote unquote official home, the breaking home, the debuting home of Terrifier 2 when it was released. So, that's the way it is. So go support them. But like we said, next week we'll be reviewing Cube from 2021. We got a fun month, because we got Cube next week. Then we got Renfield the following week, and then we got Evil Dead Rise after that. So April's a good month, and I'm excited because Body Farm was fun. I anticipate Cube to be fun. Renfield looks fun. Evil Dead Rise looks fun. We talk about it all the time. 2023 is shaping up to be a great year for horror, just like 2022 was. So, Ike, before we close this thing up and get out of here, any last words?
Actually, last sentence. I just realized we also have Saw coming out later this year. Saw 10. Well, we'll have to do like a Saw retrospective too.
Yeah, we will, absolutely. And have you heard? We didn't mention this in the news. I was always under the impression that the Exorcist movie that was coming out later this year was a remake, but it's not. They're going kind of the requel route, and that apparently Linda Blair's involved in this, and they don't know whether she'll be on camera or whether she's just an advisor or what her capacity is, but she is supposedly involved in this. So that I'm excited about that. That's pretty cool too. Again, this is going to be a fun year. We got the Nun 2's coming out later, I believe.
Man. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good stuff coming out this year. The Boogeyman, based on a Stephen King, I'm excited to see that. The Salem's Lot remake is coming out. The Pope's Exorcist is coming. We're not really reviewing that, but I'd like to see that. It comes out on the 14th. There's all kinds of stuff that I feel like is coming out this year. Man, like I said, 2022 was such a great year. 2023 is shaping up to be just as good, if not better. So really, exciting year. Absolutely. But our next step in that fun year is, like we said, we're going to be reviewing Cube next week. So make sure you check that out. Prep yourself. It's coming on Screenbox. You're going to want to see this movie. So let's get out of here. Make sure you subscribe to us on whatever platform you listen to and follow us on the social media platforms that we mentioned earlier. And until next episode, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.